we were leading a youth weekend. And on this youth weekend, I just sat there and I thought, surely there is more to life than this. I'm like, surely if God's God, then he's powerful. So I sat there and went, God, I just want to see your power, which is a bit of a dangerous thing to ask. And I sat there and I was like, God, I want to see your power. I want to see your power. Nothing happened. I was like, God, come on, knock me over. Nothing. And then I went back to my room in a bit of a strop because God hadn't, done what I thought he could do. And I opened the door, and what I know now, the presence of God was just thick in the room. And I just fell to my knees. And for about 2 hours, I was literally, wasn't I, on my face, just sobbing. And all I could say was, thank you, because I was so aware of what he'd done for me. And sorry, I could just utter 2 words. And so after that, we needed somewhere to go that taught us, what we'd just seen, like what has just happened to me. And so we went around all the different churches and Leeds, and we were like, what just happened to me? This was massive. And then we ended up at the Vineyard.
Yeah, it was great because we just decided to go and we checked it out, and then we turned up at small groups, we turned up on the weekend stuff that was going on. But basically David and Alison just went for it all the time, but they taught us what was going on and explained it and just got us stuck in, really. I think that one of the things I really remember is like it made me go and read my Bible, because I was like, is this actually in the Bible? And it's like, oh yes it is, and then let's get on and do it. And it was that continuous thing where we just kept coming, kept learning, and they kept teaching us stuff all the time, every week really.
Our whole story then became about signs and wonders. The whole thing of, I was in my kitchen and Edinburgh was on the radar and we knew we were called to plant, and I was in my kitchen and I said to Ben, if God wants us to go to Edinburgh, he's going to have to get Jamie Waters to come up to us and say, Ben and Kate, you're meant to plant a church in Edinburgh. And then he did just that 2 weeks later, didn't he? He came into the coffee shop at the NLC that was that back in the day. And he said, Ben and Kate, I walked into the room and the Lord said, you're going to go and plant a church in Edinburgh. And we just knew. And so Whybrow always says the way in is the way on, doesn't he? And we just carried on in that vein. We just always wanted to hear from the Lord and then act on it, and hear from the Lord and then act on it all the time. A couple of months ago, a lady walked into Kingdom Vineyard in St Andrews, and she'd just been diagnosed with leukemia. And she's 22 years old, and she walked in with her mum, and they'd never been to church before. She heard Jim speaking. She went to speak to Jim at the end, and she just articulated that she wanted what Jim had got. She said that he was the most friendliest, most kindest person she'd ever met. And because she lives in Edinburgh, Jim put her in touch with us, and I met with her. She's now halfway through an Alpha course. She's been at church most weeks. She's in a small group. And the amazing thing is we got to pray for her leukemia about 3 weeks ago. And she got the results back. And I'm just going to read you the results because it's really cool. This was on the 3rd of March. She said, "Hi Kate, just to let you know that I got my results back today and I am below 1%. I have 0.55% of leukemia cells, almost undetectable. He said, I've had an amazing response."
I think if I look back throughout my whole life, I've always wanted to tell people about Jesus. And I think church planting is the way in which we do it, because you can't plant a church unless you tell people about Jesus, because that's the whole point where we're here. We can't bless the city unless we're telling people about Jesus or introducing them to Jesus. So that's always been there. And I think we felt called to go and plant a church, and we had to plant one where we would tell people about Jesus. Because part of the blueprint, I felt God saying people would come to you and say, why are you doing this? And we would say, we're doing this because of Jesus, and then we would get to introduce them to it. It's part of what we were called to do, but it's also part of exactly who we were. And so there's no option really. You just got to do it and just continue to do it. And actually, I think because we were called here and called to do it, I think I learned more about how to do it better and well. But I just don't want to not tell people about Jesus, because that's what I feel called to do.